This is Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you, as per usual. Football season's close, man. I'm excited. Like, I haven't been this excited since, like, the NBA Finals. Because the NBA Finals was, like, the last time I got to talk about sports that I enjoy. I enjoy basketball and football a great deal. And there's nothing against golf, which I also love, and nothing against NASCAR, which I also enjoy. It's just football and basketball hold that space in my heart. And I like baseball too. But I like baseball in the playoffs. Like, I like the Major League Baseball postseason. I am not a huge fan of, like, middle of July baseball. Because it's just an exercise in repetition, the likes of which you've never seen, which I root for the Nationals. So that's not hard to do. Like, the Nationals are very easy to root for. They're a good baseball team. Most days that you watch, they win. But I can't imagine if you're a Braves fan, like, what your life is like right now. Because that like, especially in July, like, I couldn't imagine what your life was like in July if you're the guy that tunes in and watches all the games. Because that must have been rough. But anyway, we've got a few things to talk about because football is back. So we've got a Dak Prescott story here. Dak Prescott and Cowboys fans are going crazy over Dak Prescott, but not just Cowboys fans. We'll talk about who else. Alabama is in the news again. Plus, there's a quarterback that might be starting, a freshman quarterback that might be starting in the Southeastern Conference, but it's not the freshman quarterback that you think. And also, Derek Barnett has some words for Florida, which makes me really, really excited for Tennessee and Florida later in the season. And, of course, the preseason coaches poll came out. The AP coaches poll came out. And there's no way you can have a coaches poll that doesn't have controversy of some kind. And I usually don't like preseason polls, typically because, like, what is the point of this? We have no sample size on any of these teams in their current forms. And yet we're just going to try and guess who the best teams are. But on the other hand, like, what else are we supposed to talk about if we don't have the preseason coaches poll? We're just supposed to twiddle our thumbs and guess? Nah. Well, let the coaches guess, and then we'll just angrily tear them apart for being wrong, obviously. So we'll get to all of those things. Before we do that, I'd like to tell you about where you can reach us on the web. Make sure to check us out on social media. Search hotnewstalkradio.com. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We stream all of our local shows on YouTube. We also stream everything on Facebook. Like, we have a Facebook button. You can listen to the radio from your Facebook page, and I guarantee you there is no other local station promising you any of that. Also, make sure to check us out on our website, hotnewstalkradio.com or noogaradio.com. So you can stream us live 24/7, 365. Especially this show, Clutch with Keon Rose. We get together and do this thing from 6 to 7 every Monday through Friday. So don't forget to join us there, as well as on your mobile device. Hot News Talk Radio. Simply search it in the TuneIn Radio app, which is free in your favorite app store. That's Hot News Talk Radio. Again, give us a favorite and press play, and you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So that being said, Dak Prescott, because preseason football is happening, okay? For the NFL anyhow. Preseason football is happening. And typically, preseason football is just horrible dreck, unless you're looking to see who the up-and-coming players on your team are. Like, if it's your team that you root for in the NFL, like you're a Titans fan or you're a Falcons fan, and you're watching preseason football, yeah, preseason football is not boring for you necessarily. But you know what it is when you tune in and you're watching, I was about to say the Rams, but the Rams are just on Hard Knocks. So, I mean, that's not a hard thing to do either. Like, it's easy to pay attention to the Rams because you got all the storylines for them. But if you tune in and you have to watch the Texans and the Packers in a preseason game, like, you don't care. If that's not your team. If those aren't your teams, you absolutely do not care about any of those things. But what's interesting is for the Cowboys have not had to care about, like, the second stringers or third stringers on their team, especially on the offensive unit, for a while. Because the Cowboys really just care about winning championships, which is not something that they've done for the greater part of 20 years. However, one man is about to change all of those things. His name is Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is balling out in the preseason. Like, he looks really impressive. He looks really, really good. And I will toot my own horn on this eternally, okay? Because I thought Dak Prescott should have gone way higher in the draft. I thought he should have gone higher in the draft. I said he should have been a first rounder. He ended up going in the 4th. And you're looking at Dak Prescott, and you're looking at Carson Wentz. You're looking at Jared Goff. He looks better than all those guys. He looks better than all those guys. And Cowboys fans are super excited about Dak Prescott because Dak Prescott has not been, or the Cowboys have not been a team that have had a competent, good, solid backup quarterback on their roster. And because Tony Romo is fairly injury prone and their starting quarterback, they need him. They need a competent backup quarterback on that roster. And here comes Dak Prescott, sort of visage of everything that they've been looking forward to. And now Cowboy fans are talking about this guy like they're creating his bust already to put that man in Canton, Ohio. They look like they want to put him in the Hall of Fame already. That is how excited they are to have Dak Prescott. I'd be excited too if that was my backup quarterback, but easy, okay? Because he's dominating against base defenses in the preseason. But you know who else has become insufferable about Dak Prescott? Bulldog fans. Mississippi State Bulldog fans specifically. Mississippi State fans are like, Dak Prescott, see, we told you he was going to be good. We told you. Yeah, no, you told us. We get it. But can Dak Prescott, like, have a career first? He is 2 preseason games into his career. Okay, just because Dak Prescott might be the greatest Mississippi State Bulldog of all time does not mean that I need to have my nose rubbed into the fact that Dak Prescott is really, really good at football, because we knew that already. We knew he was good at football already, and I think he's going to have a really good NFL career, at least. I think he can do better than really good, but I'm going at least a really good NFL career. What I don't want to hear from Mississippi State fan is how great this guy is. You guys want to put him in Canton too. You're as crazy and delusional as the Cowboy fans. Let the dude have a career first. Is that too much to ask? Because, like, if you look at Mississippi State, it's not hard to see why you would want Dak Prescott to just be the greatest thing on 2 legs from the state of Mississippi already. Mississippi State has not had a lot of great players, like the transcendent type of players from that school. You just haven't. I looked it up. I was looking up great Mississippi State Bulldogs, and I came up with 3 guys. One is Fred Smoot, and I'm a Redskins fan. I like Fred Smoot. I like Fred Smoot a lot. I think he was a very good player, but he's just a good player. Like, he's a good player. He's not like Hall of Famer. All right, so you got Fred Smoot. You've got Eric Dampier, who is in the league. He's in the NBA. He's actually with the Atlanta Hawks. I didn't realize that he was still in the league. I'm not gonna lie to you there. I that was a revelation to me while I was doing research for all of this. Eric Dampier is still playing basketball professionally. That's interesting. That is deeply, deeply fascinating. I did not know that he was still playing basketball. And Eric Dampier, solid player, solid backup center for most of his NBA career. And then, of course, you got Fletcher Cox, who's a very good player with the Philadelphia Eagles. You've just produced a lot of very, very good players. Like, nobody transcendent, right? Like, Tennessee can look back and just know for an absolute fact, yeah, we got Manning. We produced Peyton Manning. And I think Mississippi State would like Dak Prescott to be Peyton Manning. They want to have somebody of that caliber, of that level from their school. Because, I mean, you look at Alabama. Alabama's a defensive and running back factory. They churn out running backs and defensive players year after year after year. Like, some schools are just going to churn out stars. Georgia's going to just churn out running backs. Plus, they've given us Matt Stafford. Todd Gurley is awesome. You know, you look at Mississippi State, and you're like, look, we're a good team. Why don't we have anybody like that? Oh, we do. We have Dak Prescott, to which I say, no. You don't get to jump on that just quite so fast. You have to let this develop first. And if Dak Prescott makes it there, toot your horn away. Go ahead and toot. I don't mind. Okay? Like that doesn't bother me at all. But we are not doing this. Okay? I'm looking at each and every one of you. Go to YouTube right now. Search Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose is live, streaming live on YouTube. I'm going to look directly into this camera, and I am telling you right now, we are not doing this. We are not doing 2 preseason games, and then we're done. And we're proclaiming Dak Prescott the greatest player from Mississippi State in the history of Mississippi State, nor are we proclaiming him the greatest Cowboy of all time. We are not doing this. We're not doing this. Or at least I'm not doing this. I will not be your accomplice in this foolishness. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And now I guess I'll pander back to the radio audience here because, this is a radio show. I haven't forgotten. I remember. But I have something here with Alabama. Because Alabama, you talk about Mississippi State, right? And how Mississippi State, they've produced a lot of good players into a lot of places, different sports. Because I'm not here to just knock Mississippi State for no reason. That might come later. However, Alabama's produced many, many great football players. But one position that Alabama has not produced anybody at for a very long time is quarterback. Which is odd because in football, most important position on the field, right? The quarterback position is the most important position on the field. And yet, the Alabama Crimson Tide, who have won more national championships in the last decade and a half than anybody, haven't produced them. Just haven't. And haven't needed to, which is more impressive than the fact that they haven't produced anybody. Is that they basically won on just the backs of great running, great defense, game managing quarterback. Nobody that they've produced has become a consistent NFL starter. And it happens time and time again. But what's interesting here is that there is a young man at Alabama that has impressed coaches enough. He may be starting as a freshman. His name's Jalen Hurts. Who I had to scramble to find video of Jalen Hurts because I had never seen the guy, nor had I heard his name. And then all of a sudden, I hear, okay, Alabama might be close to choosing a starting quarterback. And I look down, and it's him. And they like the way that he plays. They've liked his scrimmages. I had to look up some of the scrimmages just to see the guy. He's quick. He's got a strong arm. I like him from what I've seen, but I don't know anything. And I have no idea how that's going to go up against the rest of these SEC defenses once they get an opportunity to look at him. But I would not have expected, of all the schools, right, who may start freshman quarterbacks, who would you have thought? Would you have thought it would be Saban in Alabama? Because I wouldn't have figured that. I really wouldn't have figured that. Like, I thought the freshman quarterback up for debate as to whether he or not he might start was Jacob Eason in Georgia. Jacob Eason was the guy that we thought, okay, if anybody's going to start as a freshman, it might be that dude. And then we're looking over at Alabama, and they might start Jalen Hurts as a true freshman. It's just, which, I mean, it's not unheard of, but it is unheard of for Alabama. Nick Saban's never done this before. He's never started a true freshman at quarterback. We had a couple weeks on the show. We had Chris Goforth join us on the show. And, he was telling us Matthew Stafford was the best high school prospect that he had ever seen. And Matthew Stafford did not start as a true freshman. And Matthew Stafford was a baller in the SEC. Just a baller. So it's a little interesting. Like, how good is this Jalen Hurts guy that he's won over the coaches and the team? Because that's the reports that we're getting. He's won over the coaches and the team. And that, I mean, it's blowing my socks off on that one. And I went to rivals.com because, when it comes to the research of this kind of thing, you just, like, I don't know anything about the guy. So you just try and get any information you can get your hands on. Well, how tall is he? How much does he weigh? He's from Texas. So I I'm looking up stuff on him, and he's a dual threat quarterback, which we talked about that last week. That is call somebody a dual threat quarterback is not necessarily racist, but you tend to use dual threat quarterback when it comes to black people. He's black. Of course he is. We need to figure out what to do with that phraseology, because I'm telling you, it's too consistent. When you consider someone a dual threat quarterback, whether or not the guy can run is not the issue. It's whether or not he can run and is black. And guys have been called a dual threat quarterback that aren't dual threat quarterbacks. For instance, Dak Prescott is considered a dual threat quarterback, even though Dak Prescott is not fast. I would not describe that guy as fast. He was fast in the way that McNabb was fast. Like, Donovan McNabb wasn't fast either. He just had a little shake to him. He's not fast. He could run a little, but like, it's not speed the way that Cam Newton has speed or Tim Tebow has speed. So yeah, I got a little bristled with the description of him as a dual threat quarterback. However, when you describe a guy as being a dual threat quarterback, you typically don't consider that guy to necessarily be a game managing quarterback. Dual threat quarterbacks typically aren't game managing quarterbacks, because that's a guy that's going to try and make plays with his legs if given the opportunity. That's what the phraseology means typically. He's going to try and make plays with his legs if he can't make anything happen with his arm. Here's the deal, though. You wouldn't also expect a dual threat quarterback to go to Alabama. Their MO has been game managers. I'm giving you this football. Do not ruin the game for us. The defense is going to hold it down. We're going to run for a lot of yards. We're going to turn around and give it to Derrick Henry, 30, almost 40 carries a game. Do not throw interceptions with my football. And the quarterbacks are pretty much like, yeah, got that. I can do that. What you have with a guy, if you're considering a guy to be a dual threat quarterback, is a guy that's not necessarily going to take the easy option out. He's not going to throw it out of bounds. If he can't find you downfield, this guy's going to try and run. And he's a freshman, so he is more inclined to try and run as a quarterback than someone who is an upperclassman who's got some experience reading defenses is probably going to be. And despite all that, Nick Saban likes him. It's very interesting. It's just a very, 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 very interesting thing. So I'm keeping my eyes open for that. I don't know if, in fact, he will be the starter. That's not been announced officially, just that he is blowing away people in training. The people just are blown away by the guy, his intelligence, how mature he is, and also his athleticism. He's got the combination of all three of those things, and they can't get enough of him. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. We're coming up to the break here, so I would just like to get a little bit of Ryan Lochte talk in a little bit, because I think it's funny. Ryan Lochte's entire situation is funny. And I say this as a person who was actually, I was actually a fan of Ryan Lochte. Like the rest of you all were paying attention to Michael Phelps. I liked Ryan Lochte. I enjoy watching the man swim. Okay. So I realized that I sound like I'm coming down really hard on Ryan Lochte. I actually got a phone call from my mother the other day she was like, "You are killing Ryan Lochte." I am killing Ryan Lochte. But that's because he's a 32-year-old man making decisions like he's not a 32-year-old man. And I don't know what else to do with that. Like, you can't go around, urinate all over a restroom, lie about being robbed, leave and flee the country. The closing ceremony of the Olympics happened, and they happened without you because you were in America. Your sponsors drop you. And it's not like you had great sponsors. The sponsors dropping you aren't Gatorade and Nike. The sponsors dropping you are an air mattress company. What? He got dropped by an air mattress company. And there is nothing, literally nothing, more hilarious than that. It's a mattress company, man. You didn't have real sponsors in the first place, and even they can't stick with you. Justin Gatlin, U.S. Olympic track athlete, and also accused of cheating, accused of performance-enhancing drug use, failed 2 steroid tests, and got his name caught up in 1 steroid report. Nike took him back. Sure, they're not making any commercials with him, but he's still listed as sponsored for Nike. Like, people are less ashamed of the cheater than Ryan Lochte going into bathrooms and relieving himself just everywhere with 2 U.S. Olympic swimming teammates in tow. Man, if you talk about making a mess of your life, I don't know if you could do a better job than what that guy just did. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. We're going to talk about the preseason poll, the AP poll that just came out. Tennessee's ranked pretty high. Next.
Wars come and go, but my soldiers stay eternal.
Now you can listen to Hot News Talk Radio anywhere, streaming live at Noogaradio.com. That's Noogaradio.com.
Hot News Talk 1240.
I'm Larry Daniels from Daniels Insurance, and on the average, our customers save $400 a year. We offer retirement vehicles and annuities in addition to other investment products that help you protect your family. Call 423-332-4774.
This is Mike at For the Record at Northgate Mall. We're the largest complete record store in town. We sell old and new vinyl records, celebrity posters, music posters, and we are the largest in town. Come see us.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas.
Expect fair skies to continue through the nighttime. Comfortable again overnight. Lows 62 to 65. For Tuesday, expect partly cloudy skies. Still mainly dry, a little hotter though. Highs of around 90 with a few scattered, mainly afternoon, evening showers and storms returning on Wednesday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily. Locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, Ringgold, and now 5203 Brainerd Road. That's Guthrie's. And I'm Storm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. Hot News Talk 1240.
All systems go.
Got a printing project on deadline? Advantage Printing in Brainerd offers the highest quality one-stop service in Chattanooga. Graphic design, printing, addressing. Don't create a mailer unless you first check with Alan about the latest postal hassle. He'll handle the whole thing for you. Advantage Printing. Your advantage is in our name. 4031 Brainerd Road next to the Bilo. Print digital or offset, wide format, engineering drawings, start to finish. Advantage Printing. Check the details with Alan. 629-1800. That's 629-1800.
All systems go.
Treat yourself and your vehicle to a sparkling shine inside and out at Country Boys and Toys. 9606 Dayton Pike, Sunny Daisy. Remember how it felt the first day you brought your new ride home, clean as a whistle, with that new car smell? Well, you can enjoy it again and again, over and over now, with auto detailing from Country Boys and Toys in Sunny Daisy. Call 309-0426. That's 309-0426.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hear it live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Hot News Talk 1240.
So the preseason poll has been released, the AP Top 25, and it's a doozy. I live my life online a little bit. I spend a lot of time on the internet, like probably way too much time. But I'm in a lot of message boards when it comes to college football. If you spend a lot of time in message boards, you've probably spoken to me and didn't know it. But regardless, right? The AP college football poll came out. And if you've been on any of those message boards, they are on fire. They're on fire. People don't like the idea that Alabama's just number one again. Like, we just have to give Alabama the benefit of the doubt. Like, the team that wins the national title, especially if they're a team of the pedigree of an Alabama. We saw it a few years ago with Ohio State, where Ohio State wins the national title and they're number one again. And they're number one basically all throughout the season, even though they didn't really prove anything. Like, they played a cupcake schedule all the way up until the middle to near end of the season. And you're just like, what does it take for Ohio State to not be number one here? Because it's not like they're playing anybody. And they're struggling against some schools that they ought not to be struggling against. It just got really weird. Like, it just got super weird with them. And Alabama's here, and it's happening again. Because Alabama's got no quarterback. They're missing a lot of players on both sides of the ball that just went to the NFL. And we, again, don't know what Alabama is on paper. Like, we don't know what they are in reality. We know what they are on paper, but we don't know what they are in reality. We don't have a sample size to look at with this particular group of guys. We still don't know what the deal is at quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a name that's coming up more and more, but we don't even know if he's going to start. We have no idea if it's going to be him or Barnett or anybody else. We just have no idea. The receivers are good. They're very good and very strong at wide receiver. But, like, that's about it. And we don't know anything else. And that's weird that they just get to be number one again. And again, that's why I'm opposed to these polls coming out like before. Like a good 3 weeks into the college football season, if a poll came out, it would make a ton more sense. Plus, you get past that like first separation Saturday, where like some of the teams that pretended to be good, we'd have them exposed. We'd have them kind of pegged as what they are, a little bit better. 3 weeks in, doing this beforehand is just hard to gauge. Clemson makes sense being at number one to me, more so than Alabama, but they're going to get the nod because Nick Saban's so good. And it's like, I get that. Like, he gets the benefit of the doubt in a way that nobody else gets. But oh my gosh, look at this team. It's not as good. Like, it's obviously not as good. I think we can all agree that this team is not as good as the other teams. And yet here we are looking at Alabama at the number one in the AP preseason poll. Clemson's number two. It's not like Alabama ran away from Clemson and they got weaker. So yeah, that already out the gate is not just bothering me. It's bothering a lot of people. Oklahoma's number three. That makes sense. This Oklahoma team is going to be really, really good. It hurts me to say that. I hate Oklahoma. I'm a Texas Longhorn fan. I really, 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 really hate Oklahoma. But they're really, really good. Like, this team is better than last year's team, and last year's team was really, really good. It's going to be tough to pick against Oklahoma at 3. At 4, Florida State. 4 might even be a little high for Florida State, given their quarterback troubles, which is that they have a ton. They have like 1 million quarterback problems. Their quarterback issues here are many. They've got injuries. They've got a suspension. They've got everything going wrong there that can go wrong. I still think Florida State's a good enough team to overcome even all of that. And their schedule is not super difficult early on. Like, I feel like they can get past some of these injuries if they keep winning out early. But 4 is still a little high for them to me. Where I think we start to get things a little bit more correct is LSU at 5. I would have LSU above Florida State if it were just me, just tossing that out there and saying. But LSU is the best team in the SEC in terms of completeness from top to bottom, with the exception of quarterback. And I think that LSU would be higher were it not for the fact that Brandon Harris is their quarterback. And quite frankly, he's just not very good. There's no other way to say that. He completes less than 60% of his passes. He's in that 55 54% range, which is horrible. And then on top of all of that, he doesn't make particularly great decisions. So it's not like he's hitting you with the big plays, right? Like the big plays are balancing out the bad decisions. We're not getting the big plays, and when you've got a guy like Leonard Fournette behind you, you really have to capitalize on the fact that defenses are going to have to load the box to stop him. And the games that they lost 3 games last season that just really turned their season sour. They lost those 3 games on the basis of the fact that Brandon Harris didn't punish enough defenses for loading the box, with the exception of the Alabama game, where Alabama didn't load the box. Alabama was like, look, you know exactly what this is. We're sending 6 at you. And they were able to bottle up Leonard Fournette with just that, and Brandon Harris couldn't make them back off. Like, Leonard Fournette is supposed to suck defenses in so that you can throw over the top of them. But if the defense isn't doing that, how about you give Leonard Fournette a little bit of room? And we didn't get that. We didn't get any misdirection with that, and you can't with him necessarily. And I'm hoping that we have a Brandon Harris who's a year older, hopefully a year wiser, a little bit more polished and a little bit better to give this LSU team a shot, because they're good enough to get to the playoff. They're good enough to get to the playoff. They're good enough to win the SEC West, and to win the SEC. If they win the SEC West, like, presumably they would win the SEC, because, and no disrespect to Tennessee, I think they're better than Tennessee. I think they're better than Tennessee. I just don't understand how it is that Les Miles for just this long has gone without finding a guy that legitimately can play the quarterback. Like, you want to make a lot of criticisms of Joshua Dobbs and what it is that Joshua Dobbs is not capable of. Joshua Dobbs is not going to deliver that back-breaking interception usually. And sure, does he throw the ball very far? Not really. Is he accurate? He is very accurate. A lot of that is the help of screen passes. I will credit the coaching staff for not putting Josh Dobbs in a position where he's going to fail. And Josh Dobbs is a bright enough guy that he's not going to make the back-breaking, terrifying mistake that a lot of guys are making. And of course, he's very mobile. Like, he's just like, when it comes to running the ball, you have to be afraid of what Josh Dobbs can do with his legs, more so than Brandon Harris. I think Brandon Harris is faster. Joshua Dobbs is hard to tackle, though, and he punishes people, which as a quarterback is weird. He lowers his shoulder on you, which is incredible. It's kind of cool to watch. But, like, Dobbs has got things that he uses, I think, a little bit more intelligently than does Brandon Harris. And I don't know how it is that Les Miles has not been able to find that guy, but part of the reason why his job is on the chopping block and why his seat is not necessarily hot, but quite toasty, is because he hasn't found a quarterback. Like, the reason why LSU does not compete for anything is because they cannot throw the ball and haven't been able to do so since they lost to Alabama in that national title game. They haven't had anybody who could really move the ball downfield. Not really. Because they can always run, and now that you've got Leonard Fournette, you can really, really run. You've got to do better than that. You have to. And if this year they don't win the SEC, I do think Les Miles is gone, and I don't think he would deserve it. Les Miles, to me, is a very, very good football coach, and certainly one of the best in college football, much less the conference. So it's odd to me that he hasn't been able to find a quarterback to play for him at that level, because it's the one thing holding them back. And they're at 5. They could be higher. They should be higher. But even with Florida State's quarterback problems, all of Florida State's quarterback problems right now are temporary. All of LSU's quarterback problems have seemed permanent, and it's going to hold them back. And 5 is a good spot for them on this list. I wouldn't have them behind Florida State, just given where Florida State is right now. But if you want to say that, like, I can't even be mad at you, because they've just underachieved a quarterback and offensively for so long, despite having great wide receiver talent, despite having good offensive lines, despite having monster running backs. It doesn't matter, because they don't have anybody who can throw the ball. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Just giving you my thoughts and opinions on the NCAA college football AP preseason poll, the top 25 poll. They're just going down the list here. LSU is one of the more perplexing teams on this list. Ohio State is number 6. Michigan is number 7. I don't think those things are shocking at all. Stanford is number 8. And then we get to number 9, Tennessee. And Tennessee is an interesting school, right? Like, Tennessee is very fascinating because their schedule is weak enough that you could make the case they could make the playoff. And they do have a rough 4-game stretch in the schedule, right? Like, they have to run into A&M. They've got to roll up on Florida. They got to roll up on Alabama. Like, it's not a great stretch of games that they have going for them here. However, the schedule overall is weak enough, and they have so much talent. Like, I think from top to bottom, LSU is the deepest team in the SEC. I think Tennessee's right there. I think Tennessee's right there behind them. What gives LSU the edge to me is, and this is probably not going to surprise you, Leonard Fournette gives them the edge. He just does. Okay, because you and me could be behind Leonard Fournette in their running back group, and we would still have the best running back group in college football because we have that guy. You know, I mean, you just can't get around how good he is. He's the best running back in college football. And I know people are going to say stuff about Christian McCaffrey, who I also enjoy watching because of all the all-purpose stuff that McCaffrey can do and give you. But if you just give the ball to Leonard Fournette, he's about to smoke some fools, and he does it so regularly. Like, how can you not root for that guy? So there's that, right? But also, Tennessee is a very interesting team because they seem to have defied having expectations put on them, which is bizarre and weird. Because a school that has the history that Tennessee has, which is a very rich, very long, very storied history, and has been gone from that history as long as Tennessee has, right? Like, the last 5 years of Tennessee football have just been forgettable. Doesn't even begin to describe what it is. Despite all of that, you've got a school that, when you get good at football again, like when you get good, people ought to be firing up the hype train on Tennessee. And Butch Jones doesn't like attention, and he doesn't like the hype, and he hides from the hype frequently. And last year, he did everything to hide from the hype. And this year, he's embraced it a little bit. But Butch Jones and Tennessee need to be embracing the hype, because you are a good football team. And this oh shucks, we're just happy to be here. We're just very happy to be here. No, don't worry about it now. We're just happy to be here. It's not going to fly anymore. Nobody believes that Tennessee is just happy to be here. You're too talented. You're the best team in the East. You've got to win these games, like especially that stretch of 4 games. You have to. Okay, like, you don't have to win all the games, right? But you can't lose to Florida again. You can't. That's not up for debate. You cannot lose to Florida again. And Derek Barnett, I know Derek Barnett has said, we're going to take care of Florida. Yeah, well, yeah, better. Because that's the game that's going to determine whether or not this season goes into a tailspin. If I'm not mistaken, Florida is the first of the 4-game stretch. I'm going to pull that up here. Florida is the first of the 4-game stretch. You've got to beat Florida. Okay, Georgia is a game you also need to win, because that's the team that can threaten you in the East probably the most. They're the team that's closest to you. You lose in Athens, and I don't want to say your season's over, but they're nipping at your heels the rest of the way. But you want to start this 4-game stretch with the loss to Florida. You talk about the rest of the 3 games going sour. Start this thing off on a good note and beat a school that you haven't beaten since Tim Tebow last played baseball. Do that. You have to. Or this season's going to go south on you. And you're ranked 9. You lose to Florida, you're not going to even finish in the top 15. Like, it's just not going to happen for you. Beat Florida. That's simple. But it's easier said than done, right? Like, I don't know how good Luke Del Rio is going to be. I have no idea. Luke Del Rio could be fantastic. I don't know. If they have a competent guy back there, quarterback, Florida's actually right there. Because that's the thing that they're missing the most, is that they looked really, really good when they had Greer. And they looked like a bunch of Pee Wee football players when Treon Harris was back there. So see, this Del Rio thing works out for him, but it's gonna be an interesting game. I'm very excited for that game. But they have to beat Florida, or this season's going to turn sour very, very quickly. A&M, by the way, is also a trap game. Like, don't sleep on Texas A&M. I think that people get the idea that that's an enigma of a team. Like, we just don't know how good Texas A&M can be. But if you just look at all the players that they're returning on defense, like, there's no way that you can't imagine a world where Texas A&M is not just really good at football, but they might be a dark horse to win the East, or win the West. If you think that Alabama, and I'm just going to go with what the poll is saying, right? Like, if you think Alabama is the best school in the West, and you think that LSU is the second best school in the West, Texas A&M, if they're as good as they should be, and they picked up Trevor Knight from Oklahoma, they picked up the running back from Oklahoma, whose name escapes me right now. If you think that they're as good as they could be, Texas A&M could be right in the mix with those schools. And Texas A&M could sneak up on you if you're Tennessee and ruin your whole schedule. You cannot lose to them. The only school you get to lose to, because you get to lose like 2 games. Okay? You get to lose like 2. The only school you get to lose to in that stretch of 4 games is Alabama, because they're Alabama. It's either Alabama or Georgia. You cannot lose to them both, because you got to play somebody in the title game, and it might be Alabama again. Okay? You can't do that. So that's going to be interesting to me. Like, that's probably one of the more fascinating things, is that Tennessee is so talented. They're so loaded all over the ball. And I talked about that quote from Derek Barnett earlier. Derek Barnett's going to be next level this season. And I don't think you needed me to say that to you. I just thought I should point it out. He's going to be next level this season. Dude looks amazing, just from what I've seen from training. And he's a beast. I mean, just from last season, like, the growth that he's going to have this season is going to be unreal. But Tennessee at 9 could, like, I like that ranking for them. I do. Albeit that, the internet is ready to troll Tennessee. Like, Tennessee fans, beware, because Tennessee fans have done their best to be completely humble about this. Y'all don't know where this is going, and you are like, we are not about to have this blow up in our face. It's almost like everybody just became Butch Jones. Expectations? What expectations? We don't have any expectations. We're going to be pretty decent. Like, no, you look at your team. Look at your roster. Pull that roster out and look at that roster. You don't have a pretty decent team. That is a great team on paper. That is a fantastic football team that should win a ton of football games. And the only thing is, we don't know how Butch Jones is in big games, because we haven't liked what we've seen out of that track record from him. Has Tennessee learned to win the close ones? That's what's going to determine whether or not they win those 4 games. And if they win those 4 games, because they have to be absolutely dialed in for each and every one of those, and they finish out the rest of their season the way that they ought to go, do they wind up in the playoff? I think they do. I think they've got a shot to be in the playoff. This is like the weakest that the West has been, and the East is weak. I mean, you should just be in the playoff, man. Going down the rest of the top 25, the AP poll, Notre Dame is 10, Ole Miss is at 11, which that makes sense, right? Like, Chad Kelly returns. They always beat Alabama. I don't know if they're going to beat Alabama again, but this would be the year that you would beat Alabama. Like, nobody expected them to beat Alabama in 2015 and 2014, but 2016 is actually the year where you should beat Bama. So, does Ole Miss have a shot? Of course they do. And Hugh Freeze has gotten them to be winning 9-10 games every year for the last 3 years or so. I mean, that's 11 is a good spot for Ole Miss. Michigan State's 12. TCU is 13, which makes sense because nobody in the Big 12 plays any defense. So, there's that. And outside of Oklahoma, like, do you really believe that TCU and TCU, like, do you believe anybody else in that conference is actually a quality football team? We don't know if there's going to be anything left of Baylor after all of the scandals that they've had. This year, Baylor should be fine, but, like, we don't know how good they're going to be. They've got a new coach. And then, Texas is, don't really want to talk about that. Texas Tech's no good. Like the Big 12 is just made up of not very good teams. They're very, 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 very top heavy. So TCU at 13, good spot, makes sense. Washington at 14, Houston at 15, UCLA at 16, and then, skip on down. Georgia is at 18, which, if you're a Georgia fan, do you feel a little slighted there? Feel a little disrespected? I think you ought to feel a little disrespected. You're a team that you're returning most of your players. Like, you are a very good football team. You just don't know who's starting at quarterback. And the guys that you've got, you don't have a bunch of bad guys. Sure, your favorite, or what it seems like your favorite might be, is Grayson Lambert. And Grayson Lambert's arm it's a noodle. His arm is a noodle. Okay, I mean, you can be completely honest about Grayson Lambert's arm. It's a gigantic. It's a noodle. Can Grayson Lambert really throw the ball? I don't know. I criticize Josh Dobbs' arm strength all the time, but let it not be remiss that I also criticize Grayson Lambert's arm strength, and I think he might have a weaker arm. It's not a strong arm, and so, like, when I watch him and then I watch Jacob Eason, like, Eason makes it look effortless. He really does. Now, he's small right now because he's a freshman, but to be clear, he's not as small as he was when he got recruited. Like, dude's definitely packed on weight if you've seen any pictures of him. He's bulked up quite a bit, but he's a freshman still. From what I understand, though, don't be shocked if you see Jacob Eason show up in some of these games early on, just to play for a little bit, because you've got to see when the guys are flying around, when defenses are really showing you what they've got, and when it's not your own guys, what can Jacob Eason do for you? Like, what can he give you? Because if he can give you something, if he can give you that boost, if he can give you that kick, I'd be interested in seeing if he can do that sooner rather than later. Expect it. Expect Jacob Eason to show up in some of those games at some points. Maybe at the end of the fourth quarter, maybe early on before the game's really on the line, just to figure out what you've got in the guy, but you've got to see if he can go. Because if you're relying on Grayson Lambert to carry you to a really solid season this year, you are sadly mistaken. And nobody wants to make that mistake. Nobody wants those problems. And that's more or less the top 25 that really matters. Florida's at 25. I think that's a good spot for them unless Luke Del Rio really turns out to be great. I think he'll be fine. But do I think he'll be great? I'm going to give him some time. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to check us out at Noogaradio.com and on the TuneIn Radio app if you search Hot News Talk Radio. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. Coming up next, Sons of Liberty.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
With every election, the government always gets in. You're right to be angry. We have no free market, red tape everywhere, taxes crushing. There's no level playing field. Tomorrow may be a day of reckoning, but there is something you can do. It's personal safety, personal security, shooter supply and indoor range. Find the handgun or